Let's go down to subject matter. Right there. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear, allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages, until the Federal Reserve Act 1913 hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees, so you're talking about a trust, aren't you? Because that's the global estate trust that the Pope set up. They're board of directors for it. Board of trustees, stockholders, you're held as stock. Held legal title. The U.S. citizen, see why they pumped that 14th Amendment? Which is a tenant and a franchisee, you're not an owner, a tenant. You're sharecropping. Was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via her birth certificate in 1933. That's what Delano Roosevelt did. That's why they got rid of Noble Drew in 29. But it crashed anyway. The federal United States hypothecated all the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their quote-unquote subjects, the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, to the Federal Reserve. See what I got to say there, baby?
You own nothing.
Even in her proper
You're sharecropping.
Right.
Even in her proper person.
You're sharecropping. So what you do
Trust.
is you put it in trust and convert it back to a allodial title. Under mortgages and deed is not paid. It's called, write this down, set off and discharged. None of which is a payment. It's a set off, which means it's pushed off to the future, but not satisfied. That's why they want to liquidate it.
So how
You could,
She just told you.
you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, giving them the Federal Reserve notes. In your mind, in our mind, you're making payments. It's called de-donus. Write that down. De-donus is a gift. And they can foreclose at any time. I don't care how far you up. This is what it is. Proper person, put it in a allodial title and put it in trust. And then put a lien on it. Yes.
But you said
That's how we say-
mortgage, but there is no mortgage.
Say again?
There's no mortgage.
No, see, no, I know what you're saying. See, you're not getting it.
Concept.
Yes, please make me clear.
It-
That's important.
The idea that it's paid off is misrepresented, because it isn't.
Yeah, because there's some
The
debt.
tax continues, it's a payment, it's still a tithe on it, because it's not property. See, allodial property, there is no tax, there is no lien on it. The lien exists because it's under mortgaged. See, the idea that the mortgage is eliminated is a false presentment. They're telling you that, but it's not true. It's still liened. See, stop thinking that they're moral.
No, I don't think.
No, it's not just for you. I'm talking to everybody.
Yes.
Stop thinking that they're moral. Stop thinking that when you make payments, that's how it goes in the book. It doesn't go in the book as a payment. It goes in the book as de-donus. And what they do is that they discharge and set off the debt against your nationality. It's called the national debt. And it keeps rising because it ain't paid. Do you understand? You know what hypothecated means? Write it down. Hypothecated. Now, again, the identity crisis, we're assuming things that are not true. We're assuming things to be settled that are not settled. They're never settled. This is where This is the source of their power, is the deception.
Hey, for a time.
Yes, go ahead.
This one. Well, how do we create a trust that's not a creature of the state?
Aren't you a national?
I am not.
Is she a proper person?
Yes, she is.
All right, that's what you do. That's why Duali said, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. Now let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's look at
nationality name and trust.
Yes. Now, let's look at in the Pope's letter to Obama.
Okay.
Let's look at the last part of it. Let's look at the last part of it. Now, in the entry, the commentary that goes about the Act of Congress 1871 is telling you some of this fraud that we're talking about. Well, let's go to the bottom part of the letter. And then understand the 14th Amendment, understand what Drew Ali is talking about too. Put all this stuff in context because the politics meaning it's all manifesting now. This is the whole point. The prophecies are manifesting. You're living them. Excuse me, I apologize. All legal fiction entities, however structured, that's talking about the straws. However structured and named after the American states and the American state citizens. This would be the all capitals that's on that instrument that you have that's mortgage. It's not you, it's an estate. Look at it, it's all capital letters. All capital letters. It's an estate. Are returned to them and their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by officers of the United States of America Incorporated. And the United States all Incorporated, uppercase. Those are two different corporation shells that were created continuously to steal the Moorish birthright. By officers of the United States of America Incorporated, United States Incorporated, or by any foreign officials operating in the United States of America minor. They're all foreign officials. They're impostoring.
We're clear on those things.
And these are the people you're dealing with. Or the United Nations city-state falsely claiming to quote-unquote represent them or have jurisdiction over them. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago. You're dealing with this whole area here that we're giving you this history, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans. Who are those African Americans? They're really the Moorish Americans, who were summarily claimed as chattels back in U.S. government debt in wake of the Civil War, despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery. It has been the policy of the U.S. government to enslave its citizens and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world. Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to the outrageous and improper claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this circumstance in favor of the people. Attachments. Civil orders Anna Maria Wilhelmina Hanna Sophia Ritzinger von Ritzenstein von Letlow Verbeck, private attorney in service to His Holiness Pope Francis. Documents related. The United States isn't a country, it's a corporation. Hidden Vatican Crown Empire. So, now the Pope is telling you, he owns it. They're trying to fix it because they're under pressure. Manchurian Masons are dropping their bankers and other people, and secretly they're negotiating. And they're doing a 10-for-1, and we're sitting around thinking that we own stuff. It's hypothecated. being in your proper person, you have right of claim. Make your claim. Do you understand? So when they come after it, they're hitting a wall. Do you understand? The rightest thing you did was being in your proper person. Because under the Negro Acts, that black codes, guess what? You got that right twice. You know, and these are fundamental. If people just knew the fundamentals of what's going on, they'd fix this stuff themselves. They wouldn't have to need no trolley until you declare your nationality. You'll do it on your own. But if nobody exposes this stuff, our people just think it's information. It's interesting stuff. You know, oh, them guys over there. You know, and this is your estate. This is your birthright. And this goes back to some criminal Moors that keep on trying to own the birthright, talking about you ain't part of our club, ain't part of our temple, you can't be Moorish American. That's your bloodline.
Right.
That's unalienable. It can't be bought or sold.
That's right.
You ain't belong to our temple, therefore you ain't no Moor.
Well, I learned that the hard way.
They want to hang them types too. Once they start seeing these babies dying and stuff. See, they're letting these people off with this stuff right now because they don't, put it this way, the fire ain't really under their butts like it's going to be. When it really gets under their butts, a lot of these people who have been betraying the prophet, they better try to go to the moon. Because some of the most mild people, when they realize how much their families have been sacrificed because of these fakers,
Yes.
no, they don't believe. See, they ain't got enough pain yet. You know, when we start messing with babies and stuff, people get a little different. And they've been sacrificing them babies too. These people don't know how demonic these people are. They just hear a little, but you ain't seen nothing yet. And you're going to get these Negro leaders who have been keeping this black thing going on that you just thought was a matter of opinion, and you recognize that they've been selling your babies. Some of these nice, calm mothers, it's going to be really different. You know, women is nice and soft and stuff. But let them get mad. I don't know too many people that win.
That's right.
Damn, girl. But seriously.
That's what they made.
But this is the point. See, the trust, the faith that you have is that you honorably made transactions on an instrument called the mortgage and completed the trade. I'm just saying, when you say it's paid off.
No, she never went into a mortgage
Nick,
situation.
even if you did cash type thing.
Okay.
See, it doesn't, see this, the idea of it being satisfied is the deception. See, it's not what you did,
Can't satisfy.
the idea of satisfaction. Yes, warranty deed.
To me.
Yes,
And I'm like,
now,
that's not right.
now, this is what, now you take the special warranty deed, and you're supposed to ask for it anyway. They're supposed to give it to you anyway. And then you take this, and you convert it into a quick claim and into an allodial title. It must go back to its original format to be safe. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Any instrument under the U.S. Service Corporation that alleges to secure an estate is itself colored. It must be returned to its allodial status, which is why Woodrow Wilson converted all allodial titles in the first place, to set the platform up for the deception, to make people think they've completed a cycle, and they didn't. You know, it's like, remember years ago when the Mom Bell thing, and people were buying these gold-plated phones and stuff? I had one.
You didn't know that.
This ain't your phone. And you spend all that finance. It wasn't your phone.
And that's what I'm trying to.
So this is, let's be real, this is what's happening. See, and this is back to understanding what birthright theft is. What they're talking about, that 150 years ago, is this whole stuff here. So, while the people are sitting around talking about racism and prejudice, they're actually on the stock market. That's why you have trolls that come on there to try to divert from this information. Because a lot of them have been helping to maintain this, and they've been getting paid off in the background. Woo! See, because people trust people that look like you and me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Especially if they got a title.
Yes.
Do you understand? But once you know this, they can't hide, can they?
No.
Did Taj guys say this?
No.
It's just information and fact.
That's direct to President Obama from the Pope himself. And what Obama do? He did the best he could. He said, real American flag, didn't he? They signed the rights of indigenous people.
Yes, sir.
Did Taj guys say that, or did he do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, trolls. So the deal of it is, what we've got to do is choke the beast. You can't feed the beast and get satisfied. What is the key that is acknowledged by all the nation states? And we're talking about including their number 1 and 2 allies, that's France and Germany. What did they do with Germany's gold before they dropped the buildings in New York and said that the Muslims deal with box covers? Yes. They sent diplomats from Germany to Land of Nod,
New York.
Amsterdam, you call New York, to check on their gold. Because they had enumerated. That's what they gave them. Right?
Yeah.
2 months later, the buildings dropped, and they said some Muslims in a cave with box covers was carving things, hieroglyphs on the wall, and made the buildings fall down. Bin Laden and stuff. But, of course they lied. They stole the gold. One of the trucks got really one in the tunnels too. So the deal of it is, that's one of their number 1 allies. And so understand, after the Second World War, Germany's constitution is designed as a vassal state under the United States Service Corporation under the Jesuit order. So it's like a front government. And Angela Merkel is actually Hitler's daughter. All right, so they've been robbing them too. And so that's kind of shaky. So in the background, they've been making more contracts with Russia, and most of the energy fuels for Eastern Europe, except Western Europe, and part of Eastern Europe, coming from Russia. And U.S. corporation operatives started that war in Crimea as a distraction because the pipeline that they're setting up coming from Iran, Iraq to Syria to the ports, which would further interrupt the forced operation of conversion of foreign currencies under the U.S. petro fraud dollar to get things for free, which is what they've been doing, which is what this countermeasure is going on. That's what that war in Syria is about, etc. So the rest of the world already knows the reality of these politics. The people that don't know the reality of the politics are mostly the people here that think human beings are crayons. The Europeans know, but the heirs to the estate still talking around light-skinned, orange-skinned black people and all this stuff, and I'm gonna do UCCs and I'm gonna authenticate that birth certificate that Franklin Delano Roosevelt did and get a hold of this grand trust and stuff, and all they're doing is giving Rome time, you know, and then excusing Rome. He's never honored anything. That is a platform for demons. They are Satanists. They have every, this is what they do: befriend, embrace, devour. That's their policy. Write that down so you never forget it. Befriend, embrace, devour. And I know some of you, not all of you, because most of you are young, but some of you elders have knowledge of family members, and some family members who know other family members that's been in the different, what they call theaters. They don't even always call them wars, theaters, where the Roman Unum Sanctum operations are going on around the world. And that's where they go in the nations, say they ain't Christians or they don't like Jesus, then they go bomb them, kill women and children, steal their resources. And many of these Asiatics can speak of family members who, upon entry into those theaters, have been told, "What the hell are you doing here, brother?"
Yeah.
And these are the only Asiatics that don't recognize they're Asiatics. And a lot of them are living because they was given a pass and still don't get it. Still don't get it. So it's become necessary for Manchurians from the old ancient dragon families to set out upon the earth from a pool of over 20 million perfected assassins to counter European colonial operations to a point of turmoil, one way or the other. They still have the toys and the advanced technology and everything, but the promise is take one, we take 10, see who lasts. Meanwhile, the heirs are still sitting around playing these black games with their black leader guys, with the help of trolls, who are betraying the principal cause of the miseries, not just here, but of the rest of the world, because there's going to be some people that's going to come here from other nations going to take care of some of these black leader guys too. Because if it wasn't for them, a lot of their families would be living. You got to understand why the world don't like black people. And black is not an identity. It's a traitor class. They're called conversos.
Amen.
They're called conversos. When you talk to other nationals outside of the shores, the people here that call themselves Christian blacks are conversos. They will sell their babies, hiding behind Jesus, doing the most evil and vile things the world has ever known, going to and fro the earth, devouring nations for Rome. They'll come back and start black marches and stuff. Think the world don't see them for just who they are? Hypocrites. And the trolls that they send out to try to block this information. Anyway, so that's congressional records. That's a letter from Pope to Francis to Obama. You know, so when people be assuming, see, mortgage, and you look this up, look in the dictionary. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. Watch this, y'all. Just look at mortgage. I like this system. This is how she is. That's authority. It's got technique going on too.
Okay. Mortgage. An estate created by a conveyance
And estate. Go ahead.
absolute in its form, but intended to secure the performance of some act, such as the payment of money and the like, by grantor or some other person, and to become void if the act is performed agreeably to the terms prescribed at the time of making such conveyance.
Now, this is what happens when you made the agreement. I'm going to tell you what happened. You paid cash and you didn't even do all that, all right? And they give you a deed, right? And no, alleged. Now, and this is what happens. Any properties held under the corporate states or any of the subdivisional franchisees, agencies, are held in deed and mortgage, whether they're allegedly paid for or not. Conclusory is assumed, but never is done. And what they do, they take the instruments and they register it under a pooling service. And then whereas they say that you don't have payments, they put a tax on it, a property tax. And that property tax becomes a payment. It's just like a mortgage payment anyway. You know what I mean? Now, this is the whole deal. No, this is what they do. We're talking about not you necessarily because you're conscious. However, but this is what they do and will try to enforce, lest you have remedy. All right? And then whenever, like say, if they want the property for whatever reason, for any minerals that's under it, or if they want to develop something, they'll just execute what is called eminent domain and take it. And they're not sovereigns. See, this goes back to the identity theft and the identity crisis. Because they claim to be Americans when they're really stockholders for the United States Service Corporation. And they're converting that status implied that they are the Americans. Now let's go back up here and look what the Pope is talking about, so we can kind of look at the distinction of identity theft. Notice the estates in the States. Now, no enforcement of any American state or American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of any Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor, nor the board as board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. So what they've been doing, all instruments that come under them are actually on the stock market, and they're representing your estate even though you didn't ask them. This is where the whole fraud comes in. And at any time they desire, they can foreclose. And in your mind, I paid for it. No, that's an assumption. It's not what took place. It's not what's on the record. What they do is they take their ledgers, and in spite of whatever you have done, cash or whatever, what you think, we're talking about what you thought to do and what is. What people consider cash is private commercial paper. All right? It has no value unless it comes through the Jesuit order, through the Federal Reserve, which was set up after they sunk the Titanic. All right? In order to force that. So they got rid of competition. Are we clear? J.P. Morgan then did that. Now, so every instrument that is used in transaction is an assumed ownership when they're actually sharecropping instruments. So if one would say, under the fraud, I own something, you would start showing deed or certificate, preposition of title, all of which is not title. The only thing is title is allodial. Only thing is title, allodial and aboriginal title. Wilson took care of that in 1913.
Now, but we're
Yes.
going
That's what
about
we're
the
supposed
wrong
to
way.
Yeah, and that's what, and I know that. But what I'm talking to you for is for everyone else. If you understand. I understand and comprehend where you're going. I want what you're saying clear for everyone else. Are we clear?
Yes.
Because there's an assumption of ownership where it doesn't exist. All hereditaments, corporal and incorporeal, have been hypothecated. That's the fraud. That's what Drew Ali came to restore, your right of estate, your lost estate. And that's why the traders keep talking everything else but this information. No Drew Ali, praise Allah. No Drew Ali. He makes good peanut butter sandwiches. And they worship him. It's not what he came for. He came for you to enforce the law. And he said, if you don't believe that his program is right, go to those who know law. And then leader guys be saying that you are leading and teach civics. That's the highest level of civics. Constitutional enforcement. And they've been getting away with it. And our people are being injured because they are behind the 8 ball and things are happening. Do you understand? We're in the midst of a war being waged against us. Our people don't even know war is being waged on them. And these criminals justice is on time. Islam developed.
You mentioned the word eminent domain,
Yes.
and it says the right of the state or sovereign to take private property for public use. Since eminent domain is an inherent attribute of sovereignty, the individual property owner's consent to the taking is immature. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution requires that the just compensation be made whenever private property is taken for public use by the Congress.
All right. And now, so what's happening? So you have a board of directors pretending to be Congress and exercising sovereign power that they do not have, and the heirs of the states are busy claiming to be black and Negroes with the help of trolls to undermine the platform. That's what that whole thing is about. We're showing you the connection. That's what we're doing. You know better, but where your head is where everybody's head needs. The people who are listening need to comprehend where your head is. You give them an opportunity to see it in action, although they can't see everything that you're doing. You're demonstrating where we're trying to get our people to operate and to accelerate and to do it yesterday. No, day before yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, because this is the deal. Even when you're right, they abridge.
Right.
So the more people that we have who are competent and active, not passive, it will put brakes on it. Even when the people aren't totally clear that they are making an effort of reversion. No standing reversion is called adverse claim, isn't it? If you have no ongoing adverse claim, your claim is abandoned. I don't care how much you've done, what you put in it, whatever you claim, it makes no difference. However, it is well that those things are being checked. I mean, they're going to sacrifice a lot of people, yes. You know, it can't be stopped. What we can do is limit the bloodshed. You know, but it's like anything else. When you see something and you know something is coming, and you try your best to warn people, you know, when people don't take it serious, and then the train's on the track and they having a picnic at the intersection. Come on, these sandwiches is good. Have one. No. Go ahead.
I had an incident last week, a week ago, it was Thursday. I work out in the morning and I came home about 8:30. The police were on my property, the sheriffs were there, the moving truck, everything. And the sheriff said, "Hi, Gloria, you know what I'm here for, don't you?" I said, "I don't know what you're here for, but let me show you my paperwork." And I showed him, he said, "Well, let me make a call." So he made the call, and then everybody had to go home.
See, this is the deal. Now remember, what is the predication of their operations. We're assumed to be beneficiaries of their private trust to back their debt since the Civil War. Noble Ali pulled you out of that dead status. There is nothing in that status that can be done that's legitimate that will hold up in law. A lot of promises, a lot of HMO processes, site drafts, UCCs, financial statement claims, now birth certificate, all meaning the same thing, for the last 35, 40 years, the HMOs, then site drafts, then affidavits to transportation department, then UCCs, then financial statements, now birth certificate. All of them are attempting to get their hands into that global estate trust. And you ask the average person about the global estate trust and they don't know what you're talking about, but they know all these other processes. When they don't even know the history of what this thing is all about. That's the foundation of the whole politics. You understand what I'm saying to you? And they keep going for these con artist games, and it buys the European time. That's why the Manchurians have to step in, because we like gullible. It's the same thing, the same horse. They keep spray paint the horse and sell it back how you keep losing. The HMOs and the birth certificate argument, same thing. UCCs and dedication of the birth certificate, same thing. Affidavit to the transportation department and the UCC, same thing. They're different angles still for the one purpose of trying to get their hands or control of the global estate trust. Jesuits ain't giving it up. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is the ball of wax. Meaning they have to be taken down. Anything created in color remains in color. And we're not colored people. Are we clear?
Yeah.
So the redundancy is for clarity. Because we need because if we can get people to fix this, the other stuff fixes itself. Because most of the other things are symptoms of this issue. And the idea that people even have that they're paying things off, is really interesting. But anyway, I want to thank you all for coming out to the House of Reawakening Minds. I want, for those who are listening, for the little that you can share, make sure that you help Dr. Naila to keep this venue open. And Sister Roz comes here, and she has books, a lot of literature that you'll need. And Brother Abdul Iltalib Bey comes here. He's one of the best etymologists in the country. In fact, it's not just because he's our boy, because it's just simply the truth. He's about as good as they come. And always improving. Always improving. Now, and I've known him over the years, and I have to be honest with you, I thought I was overgrown. That brother studies. Brother Abdullah studies. I remember I used to, share some of my books in my library with him. I had to get them back sometimes. Where's my book? Yeah, but anyway, and the brothers, he's written quite a few impactful books that are some of your most important books of recent literature. Make sure you acquire them.
When is he here? When is he here?
Second Friday. He was here last Friday. He'll be back on the second Friday. Every second Friday he's here.
Yes. Let me see what else I want to. Now listen. In your claim, sis. This is the nature of a reversion. See, when you, and that is, when I say that's you, that's a plural you, comprehend what is going on with the the heirs of the estate being held as surety. This is what you need to understand. It's not what you agreed to. And it's not what you agreed to. It's not what your mother agreed to. It's what they've done in the name of your mothers and your fathers and yourselves. They have pledged your life, your labor, your properties to back U.S. government debt since the Civil War. That's why the reversioner is an adverse claim. And so and sis, say your name loud, because you're more and you're proud.
Lena Bay.
I, Lynn Bay, the living sentient woman, say,
Lena.
Lena
oh, you sound like my mom. That's my mom. My mom's Lena. My mother's Lena Ruth.
Lena May.
Lena Ruth.
I'm Lena May.
Yeah, Lena May? Yes, Lena Ruth. Go ahead. I, Lena May, the living sentient woman and rightful heir, am not lost at sea, as a counter to unum sanctum. And I affirm and declare my right of reversion of estate, and therefore I make no claim with respect to the title and misrepresented name, man, or straw, nom de guerre being a title, and the spurious creations of the foreign de facto United States corporate operators, actors, and owners. And I surrender and assign any and all reversionary interests to the United States and its subsidiaries for full acquittance, discharge, settlement, and closure of my reliance, Title 18, United States Code 95A, Part 2. I assume no liabilities or debts, however contrived, among its associates, and I do not consent to stand as surety for the foreign, private, and for-profit United States Incorporated, U.S. corporation, company, entity, owners, directors, or their administrators, nor do I stand as surety for its subsidiaries or its associates at any point or moment in time. So that's an heir speaking up.
Okay. Where would you file that? Once
You got that right. That be the nature of that statement, and it can be expanded, is structured within all of your claims to your right of estate. And it's called, that would be called in the law of operative estates, what is called an adverse claim. An adverse claim not ongoing, is considered abandoned. No matter what is done.
But are you filing that?
No, you give them notice.
Who's them?
County, meaning the county record.
Got it. County record.
Mainly, yeah. But you would not necessarily ask them for permission.
No.
You notice that.
I know that. Yeah.
You notice that because anything that is what you call permissive or
say no to.
that you have to apply for is an admission to a false platform of jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing, they made a culpable claim on your estate in the first place, but you make a reversionary adverse claim on it. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, just point of clarification, I think you mentioned 18, it was 12. Just for the people who are listening. And then also, question about the letter to the Pope. Could you summarize why he felt the need, or why there was a need?
It's not that he felt the need, they were under pressure. So you gotta remember, this is what's happening. And we're gonna close out because I know I keep it over. This is what's happening and people need to understand. Is that there's a civil war going on at North America that's been pretty much kept out of the public because the mainstream news are controlled by the Kabbalists. And therefore, you're not exposed to everything. The techniques that they have been using to disappear people are being turned on them. Their control has been predicated on befriend, embrace, devour. Meaning that they have no friends. The strength of continuance has been artful promotion of blind faith. That means when you begin to discover their fraud, they'll set a program, a process by which you're supposed to have access to the estate trust that they're controlling in the transmitting utility that they have represented on your behalf on the stock market. They buy time, they get much information they can from you, then they send out black boxes to knock you off. Name, let's look at this. Name, now over the years, I've talked to many Europeans, and some Europeans that came to my class. One prominent European wealthy woman, you all know her, she writes for Higher Truth magazine. I won't say her name because whatever, you know, but, and then there's a couple other Europeans that were holding classes for years with sovereignty, what they call sovereignty classes. And it was averaging, like to come to a class like this, you come through the door with 1,500. You don't get through the door. That was then, if you understand. Now, deal is, they've never honored anything. You're intelligent, and you've done research. I mean, they don't have opportunity to necessarily know it, but I know this. I've done radio stations around this country, from the West Coast to the East Coast. I've talked to many people in between, celebrities, radio people, producers, a lot of people that you consider celebrities, that in private, we have private conversations, but they can't come public because these people, Negroites, will not buy their stuff, not see their movies and stuff like that. Even this ring that belongs to an actress, that diamond, that was just a gift, right? If I told you who she was, you'd be surprised. But let me say this to you. When you think that people don't know this, you're sorely wrong. And I say this. Now, Dr. Naila, just as an intro, now, I'm a house doctor.
You are.
Right? And I used to have a crew and all that stuff. But anything has to do with house, doesn't matter what it is. I understand it, I can do it. Now,
I can attest to that.
if you ask me to fix that door, and we're into next week and next month, and I'm talking about keep hope alive, and you making me peanut butter sandwiches every day and coffee because you got a lot of tea. That sister got some tea, boy. She got tea that tea don't have tea. The tea company ain't got tea. She got it. Anyway, and then we're next year, and I'm talking about keep hope alive. After a while, how many donkeys have we got in the house, if you get the whole point? Meaning that you either is or you ain't. You either do something or you don't. Now let's be honest, and this is truth. I've dealt with Europeans and Asiatics around this country in many venues, and I have to be honest with you. One thing I always look at, and this is principle, anything that's legitimate and true is never complex. That's number one. And number two, anything that's legitimate and true for you, if we take just this row right here, and you go through the process, if one fails, it's only because of some little glitch, but all you should run through. Tell the truth. How many people do you know through your years of study that did HMOs that you can count on one hand that was successful all the way through? How many people through all your travels that you can count on one hand that did financial statements that got a hold of that global estate trust under the Jesuits and discharged everything at all times? Name one person that did a financial statement and satisfied all their debts. Name one person that did the birth certificate and got control of that global estate trust and got their hands on that bottomless pit of finances. Name a handful of them, but I can name Not directly, you know, not because we haven't, you know, necessarily talked with everyone personally, but indirectly with others who've operated that deal with this stuff. That tells you failure. That tells you bullshit. That tells you you're being played. It tells you they're buying time. For all the millions of people that have done all these different processes, and a lot of people have been selling packages for thousands of notes, getting people's energy. Ask them to show you the checks that they are just discharged, and they'll tell you all of these processes, etc. And I could give you some numbers, even with the IRS criminals, where you complete the UCC, then they say, oh, but you forgot to get this one and stuff. I think that's Form 81, whatever. It's 4 numbers. And after they go through all these years, they say, you didn't add this one, then you do that when they play you again. Now, I book cars, you know, off lots and then pay taxes. And I, you know, help some people, you know, relieve the city tax where they try to pull the crap on them. And they'll let you through here and there. But it's only to keep faith with the other blinders. Or they think you're going to go after their bonds, so they let you slide and then they try to put stuff off the record. But let me tell you this. Name 5 people. Name 2. Well, you can name hundreds that got these packages to sell, these processes to sell, etc. Now let's be real. Can I see that back from it? Move that back over here. Trick or treat and stuff. Now, if I got my hand in this trick or treat bag, I don't need your candy, right?
That's right.
You know, and I got the factory type thing.
Right.
So how come people that's always promote these processes need a couple hundred from you?
Right?
True. They should be mayonnaise.
That's like the bread factory talking about come on to the bread show but bring a sandwich with you. I don't want to see no bread. That's like somebody got the ocean beach, I got the condo down at the beach and everything. I said, sis, come on down, let's see what you're getting your house together and stuff. We're going swimming, bring a bucket of water with you. No, I don't want to see no water. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, we should use intelligence. And understand this whole promise is bull. It's buying them time. Choke Rome. Choke the beast. Choke the transmitting utility. Don't claim it. They offer you beautiful apples, don't bite it. But it doesn't mean don't study and don't see what they're doing, understand what they're doing. But intelligence tells you, if you can't name 5 people that completed this cycle and you know millions are doing it and transmit, running all over the damn place. Going filing here, going to the transportation department. Going over here to the Commerce Department. Going down to the IRS, getting a 9-digit number. You need to authenticate your birth certificate. Stop. How's it reawakening minds? Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
I have everybody's attention just for a moment. Nobody here knows me, but I traveled up here from Maryland. I came specifically to sit under his teachings because I've seen many of it on YouTube. And in addition to that, I wanted to claim my nationality. I brought my papers with me, so I was hoping I can get
Of course.
signatures.
No doubt. No doubt.